Chris and I met during the pandemic in 2020 off a dating app.
I messaged Jess first?
Yes, because on my profile, I do cosplay and I was wearing a Jabba the Hutt cosplay in a slave Leia outfit.
I could not see her face at all, and until I scrolled to other pictures and also saw Zelda, who is our golden retriever now, and just felt that this is the person I need to be talking to and then ultimately spending my life with.
My name is Jess and I got married in a theme park.
My name is Chris and I got married in a theme park.
I would say we decided to get married probably about 2 months into dating, which is probably a little extreme, but COVID was an extreme time. So probably about 8 months in, we went to a jeweler and picked out a ring together. The ring was actually a gift from his mother. It is his grandfather's diamond, passed down to his mother for her engagement, passed down to me for our engagement. And we picked the setting, and then he got it, and I didn't see it until the engagement.
So for the engagement, we've always been a fan of penguins. I decided to book a penguin encounter tour.
I didn't know, obviously, and so like we get in there and they basically let me pick out my favorite penguin because they know what's gonna happen and it's just a private tour. So they were like, which penguin do you like out of these 300 penguins? And I was like, that fat penguin. And so he waddles over, his name is Wilson. He's like this bit, he's huge. He's like half my height, just a fat guy. We get engaged and there's just this fat penguin sitting in front of us, Wilson. And we were just petting him and I showed him the diamond and he wanted to eat it. And it was just a really cool moment. It was awesome. Yeah, good job. We wanted a really cool welcome party, but welcome parties are now currently, like the trend is that they are almost as expensive, if not the same price as your wedding. We couldn't do that, so it wasn't gonna happen. It was only $500 to rent an entire movie theater, and you could choose from this huge list of movies that you wanted to see.
We ended up going with Back to the Future, and is quintessentially a theme park. They had the Back to the Future ride at Universal for many years.
So it was really cool inviting our guests the night before to come see this movie with us if they had never seen it before. We were able to get our guests like snacks and drinks and candy, and the whole thing together cost us about $1,000. As a wedding planner, I have seen probably close to 400 weddings. So it was very important to us to kind of like start with like what was most important to us. And I think kind of what we nailed down was like art and music, and like how do we combine art and music to get something that represents us. Oh, Woodstock. Like Woodstock is like the color scheme that we want to use, where it's like muted pastels and muted colors. Was that we wanted inclusive vendors. So like I wanted vendors that work with like people who are LGBTQ+. I wanted people who have like diversity in their profiles. I wanted people who like, you know, did plus size people. Timeline is such an important part of a wedding and kind of how it flows. We got ready together at the Hard Rock. Hair and makeup arrived at 5 in the morning. Our video and our photography team arrived at 7 in the morning to begin the process. So it was very, very early. We were very, very tired. There was not enough coffee in the world to kind of get us through.
You look beautiful.
You look so good!
After we did our first look, we did our portraits in the theme park, which was really cool. That's when we pretended to be like wizards and we got butter beers and we did everything. We went and saw the night bus, which was really important to us.
You're able to drive from the venue to the theme parks, but they also have a ferry system. We're able to both arrive and depart by boat.
From where we originally budgeted to what we ended up spending was probably about 20% more than I had originally thought I would spend, which was worth it. It was worth everything, but it definitely is like something that is worth noting and definitely something to be very careful about if budget is important to you.
So there was an element of surprise when it came to the wedding dress, Jess?
I think we started at the beginning. Before we got engaged, Chris and I went to something called a sample sale. And a wedding sample sale is when they have a bunch of like season-old dresses, and they're like half the price that they would have been. And we found this amazing dress. Chris actually bought it for me as a gift.
I was with her there at the time.
Loved the dress.
I know it was nuts.
We were like, this is perfect. We're going with this dress. Well then, because I'm in the wedding industry, I got invited to go try on dresses at another store. And I thought, I'm a strong person. We're gonna go try on dresses at another store and I'm not gonna buy anything. Chris comes with me to all of these because I thought it was fun, right?
I definitely was enjoying like learning about just the process of how all of this is done.
So dress number 1 is at home, sitting there, enjoying its best life. We get to dress shop number 2 and they have this dress hanging up that is like ethereal and colorful and Taylor Swift circa Lover era. And I put the dress on and I'm like, oh no, this is bad. This is really bad. They open the curtain, Chris sees me and he's like, wow! And I'm like, what? I simply must have this dress. Like, I simply need it. So I waited until the next day and I told them I couldn't buy it because it was too expensive. And then I called the dress shop and I was like, I need that dress. So how are we gonna make this happen? And they set me up with a payment plan, which was super nice of them. And then, so he didn't know. He thought I was wearing the original dress. I showed up to the first look and I'm wearing the second dress with a cape on it. Like this, again, it's colorful and it's got like this lace and it's got a cape and it's like this plunging neckline and it's amazing. And did you expect that dress?
No, I didn't anticipate it in the slightest.
Guest experience was very important to us on our day. We had both been to weddings where the guests were kind of an afterthought and we didn't want that to be our wedding. So we probably had we had a lot of stuff, probably too much.
We wanted it to be inclusive for everyone to feel like they were an active part of the wedding.
So it started with, before ceremony, we invited our guests to come a half an hour early and we had a cotton candy machine set up. Part 2 was we had a live painter and he was live painting our ceremony so the guests could interact with that. Part 3, when our guests got to the reception, we had a hidden caricature artist who was hiding behind the bar and was drawing people as they were dancing, and he would like secretly hand them the artwork.
I've played in bands before and been a fan of music, and one of the other really fun things that I think we incorporated is that every band has, when you're starting out, has like a homemade merch stand. And when you have no money and you have no way of promoting yourselves other than handwriting things, so we hand wrote a set list, which were some song titles that were reflective of various things. And we had pins, we had custom guitar picks, and it was encouraged for guests to take these with them too.
When we first started planning our wedding, we had intended for our dog, Zelda, who's a big, fat golden retriever, to be a part of our wedding. We have another dog in our life named Peanut, who's a small Shih Tzu mix. We decided to include Peanut as well. So we had Zelda and Peanut, and we got them their own babysitters. They were gonna live their best life, like have a great time at this wedding. Well, my sister calls us probably about a week before, and she's like, I'm bringing my dogs as well. Her dogs weigh 4 pounds. And I was like, okay. And she's like, they can stay in the hotel room. And I'm like, that's fine. They can stay in the hotel room, but they're kind of terrors. And one of them is 4 months old. And I'm like, I don't think that's a good idea. Why don't we instead include them in the wedding?
The dogs did, of course, have their own flower garlands as well as outfits. And of course, they needed to dress to the 9 and 9s as well.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. So when we started the wedding, my bridesmaids were walking down with dogs as their like bouquets, essentially, just like small dogs. And so we went from having 1 dog in our wedding to having 4 dogs in our wedding. We originally didn't want a video. I got a great photographer and I was like, I don't need a video, it's totally fine. But we were sitting there in the living room with Chris's mom and she looks at me and she's like, oh, you need a video because there's gonna be people who, as they exit and enter your life, you will want memories of them, which is gonna make me tear up, but you will want memories of like them talking or, I don't wanna cry, or you'll want memories of them like dancing and stuff like that.
And to be able to have that as a family, friend time capsule that you can always go back to. And
a lot of people are finding their vendors by looking at hashtags. And so I looked up like Florida videographers and like pops up, boop, Bonnie from Mars and the Moon Films. And I'm like, holy cow, these videos are like great.
You know, making a pitch about a theme park, hard rock, Woodstock wedding. I think there's a lot of people out there who would go, oh, okay. And then the second that they're no longer on the interview call, maybe say to their friend or partner, just like, what was that all about?
So our officiant was my best friend of all time. Her name is Sierra.
I'm going on a date with a guy who wrote a Tiger King musical. And if you're wondering, the direct feedback I got from Jess after that first date is best worded by the Grinch Who Stole Christmas. Help me, I'm feeling.
Hilarious. She is just gifted in the improv field. So before the ceremony, she asked us what we wanted to read beforehand. She sent me one blurb where it was a ceremony social minute, where basically at the beginning of your ceremony, you give the guest a minute to take photos of you with their cell phones. Then they must put their cell phones away and they have to focus on you.
Our logic behind that was if you tell people to turn off their cell phones, likely they're just going to put them in their pocket, and if they get the urge, they're going to want to take a photo during the ceremony anyway, and we didn't want that to interfere with the videography or the photography of the day.
We promise you that there will not be a special moment missed. That being said, we understand that you heathens lack impulse control, so in order to feed those inner demons, please, let's take the next 30 seconds to whip out those devices and take as many photos as you can before we actually start this thing.
It's very weird going viral.
Jess and Chris, if you wouldn't mind putting on a bit of a show for the people. All right, everybody got their phones out? All right, you get 30 whole seconds. Ready?
So the next day, Bonnie posted the officiant speech on TikTok as well, and Jess was telling me that there was a lot of views.
Go! All right, you're in love. Oh, my speech is fantastic. Oh, look at how beautiful they are, gazing lovingly into each other's eyes. Oh, pretend vows. Pretend you're doing vows.
And I thought that meant like our friends plus maybe like 50 people, and I think by the end of the first day it was over 1 million views, and I think by the end of it was like 3.5 million.
Your grooms and your brides people, some like loving thing happened. It's a lovely day. Now point to your parents. All right, some fun. All right, it's over. All right, put your shit away.
I love you.
I love you.
Yay.
Was it
So
the dress you
beautiful.
expected? Were you suspicious?
I didn't know. I didn't know that you got it.
You bought it secretly behind your back? It's okay, our bank account remembers.